Divinity Original Sin 2. Can we talk about this? Today we'll be looking at the first 20 minutes of Divinity 2, or basically the tutorial. So to start off with the game, you have to create your character. So this involves picking a race, a class, and abilities that you'll basically be using. This is all displayed to you visually. There's lots of pictures explaining what you have to do, and also lots of text. Now, Divinity can be quite an overwhelming game. There's a heap of interactions and a heap of abilities, and it's a lot to learn. But essentially, the way they do it is whenever you hover your mouse over anything, it gives you a rundown and tells you exactly what they do. The tutorial also does a great job of showing you what it actually does to begin with as well, and we'll be going over that pretty soon. Divinity does a great job on exploration as well, and they do the same when teaching you abilities and through the tutorial. There's an emphasis throughout the whole game on exploration and discovery, and so a lot of the things and a lot of the complex systems don't necessarily make sense to begin with, but as they're explained and as they're played through, they make more and more sense, and you get that feeling that you are discovering new things about the world. There's real heavy emphasis on discovery in Divinity 2. You can pretty much interact with everything in the environment, making it very highly immersive. You can click on lamps and turn them on and off, looting, pickpocketing, the list goes on and on. But you feel like, as you're going along and through it, that you're always learning stuff you can and can't do. Divinity does a great job in this early on in the game, where they show you the first room that you come across where there's a murder. You can see very clearly that the icon is different for you picking up normal loot. It's red instead of gold. This is basically because you'll be stealing. Make a clear indication between what you can and what you can't loot early on. How Divinity introduces you to elemental damage, that sort of thing, is it has it on the ground in many instances to begin with. So one of the first instances that you will notice are flames, and the damage that it can do to you is there's a doorway on the second floor of the boat. It's on fire, obviously, and you don't want to walk through that. If you do, you take a small bit of damage, and it's negligible. But also they put a water barrel right next to it to introduce you to the fact that you can use different elements to put out other elements. So you chuck the water barrel onto the fire, and put it out and turn it into smoke. Another great way that they introduced abilities and the effects that they can do is through a few of the fights to begin with. So one of the fights is they have two magisters waiting in the room who will attack you on sight. Now, one of them has no armor or magic resist. When you're using abilities or any of that sort of thing, they are often affected by if a person has magic resist or armor. So in the effect of Battle Stomp does physical damage and therefore is affected by armor. This can only knock down opponents when they have no armor. So if you use this ability on the Magister with no armor, then it knocks him down. But the guy standing next to him has armor, and also all he doesn't actually attack you, is increases those stats in his turn. So basically he's just a test dummy to show you the difference between when a person does have armor and the effects and when you can actually use them. Divinity also introduces you to doors very early. Some doors have very little HP and they can be knocked down, whilst others cannot and require keys. You're introduced to this on the second floor, first with a single door that you can knock down very easily, and then later on with a door that has massive amounts of HP, and it forces you to look outside. This is information that is very useful outside of the tutorial, but is taught in a very subtle way. Generally, I think Divinity teaches and communicates to the player very well how to play the game, but not necessarily how to play the game well. I feel like this is purposeful design. Not only the fact that you're consumed by the narrative, but you're also consumed by trying to find out new abilities, new combos, and working out how to use them properly and effectively against different sorts of enemies. Frankly, I enjoy this a lot more, instead of just boring tutorials in which press this button to do this, or press this button to do that. They chuck you straight into the world head first, and leave it up to you and your discretion on what you want to do, how you want to do it. It's your decision and your game, because real immersion is choice. Not only do you have to know what your own abilities do, but you have to learn what the other class's ability do, as you will often be facing them in the outside world. This is done through a fight scene down in the bottom of the boat later on in the tutorial, in which NPCs fight Voidwoken. Each NPC is a different class, and each one of them uses different abilities, just to give a quick insight into the sorts of things they would be facing in the outside world. This way the developers can show a wide variety of abilities without having lines and lines of text to read. This fight also gives you your first taste of party dynamics. This is waiting for your turn, figuring out the turn order, and the turn order of enemies as well, teaching you early mechanics and rules in a safe learning environment. And that's my take on the introduction to Divinity 2. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll catch you next time. See ya!